Mark, what did you make of Bafana's performance today against New Zealand?
Hi Zola, thanks. Yeah, bit of a disappointing display. I think the fact that we've obviously gone abroad playing two nations that aren't the highest ranked football nations around, that we'd hopefully go out there with quite an attacking mindset, or at least go with a positive way of trying to play football. So I've highlighted a few things to talk about. I think mainly for me, which is worrying from a nation, is that we've always been blessed with some skillful players, players that can move the ball quickly and very quick feet. And the problem that we're having is we're playing with a system where we play predominantly with two central midfield players that play very deep. And what that kind of negates what we're good at, because now when we receive the ball, we've got players like Yeye, who's always looking for a 40-yard ball to try to find Ranti, and often the ball was cancelled out. So I think on a whole, it's disappointing to see how we set up. And I know Gordon's not always been the most attack-minded type coach, but I think it's a way that's actually detrimental to this team.
And what did you make of Thulani Serero's play today?
I feel sorry for a number 10 in a Bafana jersey. I spoke to you a little bit earlier about it. I think he was in the first half almost non-existent. He wasn't there to link up play, but it's not his fault in many ways. He's a young talented player, just like Steven Pienaar was whenever Steven Pienaar played in this role for us. But the problem again is that between our back four and our strikers, there is way too much space. We don't push up a high line enough. So by pushing a high line, we're able to close the space down using pace and using very clever footwork, where players get to show the differences in tight spaces. When we're playing with a big gap in the midfield, it's much easier for other teams to counteract, and be able to pick us up and move around, which kind of is again against the play that South African football should be playing against. I do believe we've got energy, we've got skill. So close the space down, let the skill come out. Whereas players like New Zealand were hard running, they were fast. But I do believe if we gave them less space to play in, we would have done a lot better. I think one of the other things to highlight is that we were playing with an inverted winger like Petosi. He looked good, he wanted the ball and he wanted to do something, but quite often he was drifting infield to his favoured right foot. Now that's fine, but then you have to have a system where the fullbacks bomb on and effectively become your wingers, and we weren't doing that. So I don't know what Gordon's instructions were for the left back, but he certainly didn't get forward at all, and that's kind of negating all that space. So often we would get the ball and you could see that you would say swing it wide, but there's no one there. So pretty much like as Atalanta does at Man City, he gets passed into a space where he's useful. We weren't doing that at all on the left hand side. So it's fine to have a player like Petosi, but then he needs to have someone who is working with him in tandem. Pretty much like Steven Pienaar and Leighton Baines used to do so beautifully with Everton. And I think it's a mindset for South Africans, is because we don't want to concede goals. We don't want to look like we're losing to New Zealand. So we don't go out with an attack mind. We're too cautious. And it's a big Achilles heel for this country.
But going forward, what do you think is the best formation that will suit players like Thulani Serero as well as Petosi?
I think possibly to look, it's fine having a defensive minded midfield, having two to protect. If those two are protecting, they are the ones that then do the covering as the back four. The wingers, the fullbacks, are the ones who have to have the energy getting forward and back. And I think we've got the right type of setup here to do that. So I do believe that someone like Serero would really enjoy that more, because if he was linked into the play, if we push up the pitch tighter and get wing backs, so there's an outlet, because there was no outlet, and once you've got an outlet, it can pull the game apart. And that's when players like Serero will benefit hugely.
Okay.
Because as a striker like Ranti, he runs hard and he gives a lot, but he's not the type of striker that you can knock a 40-yard ball up. He's going to sit and bring it down and knock it off to a Serero, because that's not his game. He's someone who wants to get put through and run on goal. So for me, the setup we've got now currently, it doesn't favour the players that we're picking.
Okay.
The players that we're picking could be utilised way better if the system was changed a bit, where we went with more of an attack-minded, more energy, higher tempo. Tempo is way too slow for South African football.
But overall, were you impressed with how the team played? Looking at the goalkeeper, the defence, the midfield, the strikers, overall picture.
Ronwen Williams didn't have anything to do. I think he can go hang his jersey up again. He didn't have to wash it. No, on a whole, I just think it's just way too slow. Counter-attacking, zero. So there's no counter-attacking on our side because of the mindset. And that's what worries me. It's the mindset of too much of a defence first and score goals second. We need to change that around. I would rather win a game 3-2 than draw 0-0.
Okay, so there we have it. Bafana played not to lose the game. We'll catch you next time in our session of Kickoff TV.